It's that time again. Sydney Roll Racing is upon us, and we've got our three main characters behind me, if you will. Jamie's S13, big deal, and of course we've got Goku R32, a Brisbane Roll Racing winner, round 3, not round 4, because he forgot to fill up his fuel tank, but that's all right. So we've got a few little things that we need to do. Well, we've got a few little things and one larger thing that we need to do. So probably elephant in the room, big deal. We are still battling a very similar issue to the one that we've been battling the whole time. We just keep working on it. We just keep trying things, changing things, and it's getting better and better and better. So this revision, we've got our surge tank in the back. We are moving the surge tank from the back to the front. We've avoided it this long because we have got other cars running surge tanks in the back with no issues. But the time has come. We've pretty much exhausted every other option that we've got, and we are moving the surge tank from the back of the car to the front of the car, the front left-hand corner there, and we're gonna try that basically. We're pretty much running out of things to try. Everything else is looking really good. All the other data is looking really good. So pretty much next thing on the list, move the surge tank. So the update is, right, we went to roll racing, had the same fuel pressure issue that we've had for a while. We got back here that day, or sorry, not that day, the next day, or Monday, whatever day it was, and we moved the surge tank from the back of the car, it was in the boot, we moved it up here to the front of the car so that the mechanical fuel pump wasn't trying to suck fuel through like 4.5 meters of hose, it's only like half a meter of hose. That worked really well. It seemed really good. The fuel pressure was like stabilized, looked sick, and then all of a sudden our fuel pressure went to shit, completely different issue. Fuel pressure was up and down all over the place, doing real weird stuff. And the first thing we did was look at the fuel filter because we're like, maybe that blocked. And looked at it, fuel kind of like just trickled out of it. So then we took the fuel filter directly off the tank because it mounts directly on the surge tank. I'll show you. So fuel filter, surge tank. Took this line off and the fuel kind of like dribbled out, and then we're like, oh, that's blocked for sure. But then we took this end off and the fuel kind of like just dribbled out here as well. And we're like, well, that's not right. Obviously the pump is starving of fuel because the surge tank's not releasing it. Basically, we then spent the next like 6 hours trying different things, moving lines around, breathing different vents, moving vents from different places. Anyway, moral of the story is the fuel filter was blocked. It was the very first thing we tried. The fuel filter was just blocked. We put a new fuel filter on it. It was sick. Way it went down, went to Mexico. Andy went to Mexico and gave the car a bunch of hits. It was sweet. It was fast. It was good. Didn't misfire. Didn't do anything. Fuel pressure was steady as. And then later in the day, went to go do it again, and the fuel pressure went again. The exact same thing. So what we are doing now is we are removing the factory fuel tank, which means we have to drop the subframe to get the fuel tank out, and then we are going to put a fuel cell in it. Basically, the factory tank's full of shit somewhere and it just keeps clogging the filters. It hasn't been an issue up until now because when I was changing the fuel lines over and I had to change the fuel hat over when we put the tank in the front, I dropped the torch in there. Or well, the torch was magneted to the top of the floor, and I bumped it and it fell and it bounced into the fuel tank, and then I had to go digging around in the fuel tank to get the torch out, right? So I think what we've done, or what me specifically on my own did, while I was digging around in there, I've stirred up all the shit that was settled at the bottom of the tank, and now it's just floating around in the fuel and it's clogging our fuel filters. So best way to do it, rather than pull the tank out, try and clean it, put it back in, just to find out that there was a little crevice that we couldn't get to that's still full of shit, is we're gonna pull it out, we're gonna put a race cell in it. Yeah, that's it. That was like 5 minutes of talking, but that's where we're up to. That's what you're watching. Currently you're watching Andy struggle to get a hose off.
I'm gonna get it.
But he's trying real hard, so it's okay.
I'm a little guy, just trying to have a go.
Anyway, we'll get it out and then we'll catch up with you. All right, now that we've changed everything around in this car, it has messed up our corner weighting just a little bit. So we've removed the factory cell, which sits sort of in front of the rear wheels, and now we've got a fuel cell, which sits behind the rear wheels. So we're gonna get Juddy, he's gonna re-corner weight the car, realign it also because we had the rear cradle out, and just make sure that this thing's back to where we want it before we go and race it after we've made all these changes to it. On top of that, we've also got 4 brand new tyres going on it so that we've got brand new sticky rubber ready to go, and hopefully put all this power down to the ground. Jamie's car, little things I'm going to change. The fuel level sender in his fuel tank was no good, so he'd be reading 50% fuel and then he'd be reading no fuel just suddenly. So I'm going to pull the tank out, swap the sender out, do all that sort of stuff. As well as the cam sensor decided that it didn't want to work anymore. We backed the car in here, running, idling perfect, switched it off, tried to start it again, no cam signal. So we got to change that as well. Goku 32, not really anything wrong with it other than him not filling up his fuel tank, but we have gone through the logs and he sent us a few videos of him driving it. We could see basically on his dash his fuel pressure would show sort of a maximum value and a minimum value, which is obviously not correct if the sensor is pinning itself and then also going to 0. So we are going to swap the fuel pressure sensor out at the same time just to make sure that doesn't cause us any issues in the future. So nice and easy, not quite so easy, but we'll get them all done. We're also going to throw Big Deal back on the dyno and Jamie's car back on the dyno just to make sure that they're all sweet, ready to go, and then we will be on our way to Sydney.
Alright, we've just wrapped up on the dyno with Hype Game. Big Deal was earlier. Both cars, just a little check-up tune before we head down to Sydney roll racing this weekend. Both cars are fine, looking spicy. We've got Goku heading down as well this weekend, so all cars are healthy, ready to go for this weekend. So let's see you in Sydney on Friday night. Let's go. Hit the bell. Hit the bell. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button to get all the notifications. Help us grow to 20,000 is the next one we want to get to. We're not far from it. So yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe and hit that bell button.